All right, I call the regular meeting of the Board of Education to order at 7 p.m. Thank you for those that are here tonight and those that will be watching the recording of the meeting at home, as it'll be available on YouTube in the future. All board members are present with the exception of Ms. Heike, who is excused. At this time, I invite those willing and able to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you for that. All right, next up in the area of communications and engagement, next on the agenda is student board member comments. Ms. Heike is not here tonight, so we will move on to our first public comment period. Trustee Sislo has agreed to serve as tonight's timekeeper. Be advised that this meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public meeting. There are 2 times for public participation during the meeting as indicated on the agenda. When addressing the board, you will be asked to state your name. The board determines the amount of time granted to individuals or groups to speak. Each person shall be allowed to speak for up to 3 minutes. Board members may question speakers but are not obligated to answer questions or make statements or commitments in response to issues raised by the public. In general, such items will be referred to the superintendent for advisement, investigation, study, and/or recommendation, or designated as future agenda items for board consideration. Are there any students wishing to address the Board of Education tonight? Are there any others wishing to address the Board of Education tonight? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on. Next item on the agenda is routine matters for approval. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held on May 6, 2026.
Moved by Burdette.
Support by Gutierrez.
All right, I have a motion from Mr. Burdette with support from Dr. Gutierrez. Is there any discussion? We'll proceed with the vote. Ms. Murray.
Okay, Pryor,
Yes.
Sislo,
Yes.
Burdette,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Murray, yes. Motion carries 6-0.
All right, thank you very much. Under Finance and Operations, we have a first reading of the district's current fiscal budget amendments as detailed in attachments A through E. Again, this is the first reading. We will not vote to support or not support the proposed amendments until the June 3rd board meeting. So I will turn it over to Superintendent McMahon.
Thank you, Ms. Farrow. I'm actually going to turn it over to Ms. Hendricks. She's been working on this amendment for a while now. It's the first reading. I shared the docs with you guys earlier, so you're able to look at them. But Krista will be able to go through and share some highlights with us.
Thank you.
So in front of you, you have 2 packets, a white one and a green one. I'm going to start with the white one. That is the final amendment for this school year. The first set of papers in that stack are the general fund amendment documentation. If you note, the first column is the budget that you adopted in February. For the final amendment, I'm increasing revenues by $766,000. We're increasing expenditures by $559,000. I'm sorry, $207,000. The difference is a positive difference of $559,000. Our revenues are going to be $500,000 more than our expenditure changes. If you look at the bottom portion of this document, this is going to cause our estimated fund balance to be $2.6 million or 7.32% of fund balance. At the last amendment, it was 2.0 million with a 5.8% of fund balance. There is an adjustment to the assigned fund balances. At the last amendment, I missed that the PECC fund balance should have dropped to $544,000. That is the number that was in our audited financial statements. I did not pick it up with the last amendment. There are a number of reasons for this change. We had some state aid special education adjustments, both current year and prior year, at about $500,000. We received $82,000 more in our Act 18 monies than I had budgeted, because at the time I did the amendment in February. I had an estimate for our final 24-25 settlement number. By the time this amendment came through, I had our final numbers. I'm increasing our interest revenue by $15,000. There are a lot of pluses, a lot of minuses, but in total, there's a change to the revenue of $766,000. For expenses, I increased the preschool supply budget. I increased budgets for employee retirement payouts. We increased the textbook budgets, and there were some miscellaneous adjustments, totaling an increase of $207,000 to our expenditure budget. But as I said when we were going over the first page, we are in a better, this budget is putting us in a better financial position than we were in February. Are there any questions on the general fund amendment?
Just a quick question. So total fund balance spend for this fiscal year is anticipated at $848,000.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for putting this together. I was curious about the increase in the textbook budget. Is this an inflation thing? A lot of replacements?
It's a timing situation. We
Okay.
had asked for information from the curriculum companies, and they decided to send us the product instead of waiting until after July 1. So since we received it before July, I have to pay for it in July. It's part of this budget.
Thank you.
So next year it should be off the books.
Just a question about employee retirement payouts. That's just based on the employees who said they're gonna retire and their balances.
Yeah, it's the payout of sick time.
All right.
Which is obviously now known
Yes,
for the most part. Okay,
it
thanks.
should be known by now.
Okay,
And
thanks.
there's a contractual deadline that
Okay.
they announce past, and they don't qualify for ballots.
Ms. Hendricks, are there any other unknowns that we're kind of very loosely estimating that might expect to have substantial change?
You said unknowns. At this point, they are unknown.
Yeah.
We only have a month and a half left of the year, but I never know what's going to happen. We could have an unexpected issue with a bus. We could have an unexpected issue with a building. Those are the only things that I think would be out there. We've asked all of the administrators to curtail spending. We have a spending kind of cutoff in March.
Okay.
So hopefully there shouldn't be any surprises unless something
Unless it's
catastrophic
urgent.
happens. Yeah.
Okay.
And then not a question, but a statement, but just to understand again that our board goal is to be at a 10% fund balance, and we start to have issues with the state when we get below 5. So just need to continue to reiterate that.
And to follow up on what Mr. Sislo said, I mean, I think it's important to note that this puts us at a 7.32% fund balance, but much of that is an encumbered or assigned, for PECC. So when we take that out of the equation, we're really at like 5.8. And so one thing, given that those numbers are different and that we've been kind of on these bubbles lately, maybe we should really clarify what our board goal is, whether it's the overall fund balance or whether it's that unassigned fund balance.
All right. The next set of papers are the budgets for the debt funds. There are 3 documents. The top page is a summary of the second and third pages. The second page is our 2018 debt refunding, and the third is our 2019 debt refunding. The amounts that we pay out are dictated by our bond payments. In addition to paying down on our principal and interest on our refunding bonds, we are also repaying the state for monies that we borrowed to make debt payments in previous years. So those are pretty much an in and an out. Pretty basic. The next document is regarding the sinking fund. I have budgeted a revenue of 1.1 million. I budgeted expenditures to equal the revenues. We are not at that equal point. At this point, we probably will be putting money into the fund balance for our sinking fund, but until the end of June, I'm not going to know exactly where we fall.
And one of the reasons for the decrease is Headley rollback, is that?
Yes,
Okay, just-
we passed the bond or the sinking fund in November, and before we could start collecting, we were subject to a Headley rollback. Okay. The fourth document you have in front of you is the food service budget. I'm adjusting revenues to kind of be in line with what our numbers look like at this point. Same with expenditures. It does show that we're spending more than we're bringing in, but we have an excess fund balance in the food service fund, and we do need to be spending it down, so some of the spend is intentional to get us to the 3 months that we can only carry forward by federal law. And the last document you have on the white paper is the student activity fund. This is all of the internals. Each building has an internal fund. It's student council, it's theater, it's football, it's whatever. We run with our revenues and expenditures around 600 each year. It's kind of an in and an out. It does have to be part of our audit. They are considered district dollars, but it doesn't impact our general fund. So.
And just to be, none of this is eligible for salary costs.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, this is just fundraisers and,
It's raised by particular groups for their purposes only. FFA is in here, the school store, the class of 20 whatever, all of them raise money for certain purposes, and that's where their money's recorded.
thank you.
Can I also seek clarification on this? So in the school activity fund, the only dollars that go into there are activity generated dollars, correct? There's
Oh.
nothing coming out of like our foundation allowance or
General
anything?
fund does not fund any of that.
Okay.
It's fundraisers that they hold, it's grants that they apply for. It's donations, there are fees, like when parents pay a technology fee at the beginning of the year, that money goes into an internal account, but that money is used to buy replacement screens and fix broken Chromebooks. But none of that money, none of that 600,000 is coming out of the general fund.
Okay, I think that's important for us to clarify, just that this is kind of internal in and internal out.
Any additional questions for Ms. Hendricks or Mr. McMahon on the first reading of the district's preliminary budgets? Okay, thank you very much for the presentation and information.
I'm not done yet, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Trying to get through that quickly.
I could be done. If you don't want me to
No,
talk
I-
about next year, we'll be fine.
Continue, by all means.
So what we just finished was the 25-26 final amendment. The green papers in front of you are the 26-27 preliminary budget information. The first column on that first page is the final amendment that we just went over. So it's just carried over onto this document. The second column is what I am presenting to you as a preliminary budget for next year. And then the last column is the increase or decrease between the 25-26 and 26-27 budgets. I am at this point projecting a revenue of $31.7 million. That is a $3.3 million decrease from 25-26. I am projecting expenditures of $33.6 million, and that is a decrease of $2.2 million from 25-26. What I'm proposing to you for this preliminary budget will have us ending the year with $708,000 in our fund balance, which represents a 2.1% fund balance. And that's percent of expenditures. Please bear in mind, these are preliminary numbers with a lot of guesses made by Krista as to how the state funding is going to come in and what our count is going to be. These numbers normally get better as the amendments go. If you look at the second page, it will give you some of the assumptions that we made. I assumed a $250 per pupil foundation increase. That number was in all three, the Senate, the House, and the governor's budget proposals. It was consistent in all three. So at this time, I'm hoping I am safe in budgeting a $250 increase. Though a couple of years ago, they decided not to give us any. So as I said, these are guesses. We are assuming a reduction of 30 students from our February 2026 count. There were certain state aid allocations which were eliminated. We are receiving CTE millage revenue. At this point, I budgeted revenue to reflect a full FTE for our FFA instructor and a 0.33 FTE for our building trades instructor. We can only receive CTE dollars on those classes that are considered CTE. So for building trades, we have some introductory or exploratory type classes. Those are not considered CTE. They don't meet the definition that the state puts in place for a CTE class. So 2 of Mr. Wallen's hours are CTE generators. I'm reducing the amount of the December Act 18 payment. We always get our portion of our special ed cost, plus the settlement from the December payment from the prior year. I don't have a solid number there, so I'm estimating low. Normally that number does come in higher than I estimate. There are a number of items you see listed that the state has, in comparing the 3 budget proposals, either all 3 organizations have reduced the allocation, or some have reduced, some have kept level funded. Until we have a state budget, it's a shot in the dark as to how much these numbers are going to change. For both revenues and expenditures, we have a number of grants with offsetting expenditures. In that pot, it's anything with a grant carryover. The carryovers are not 100% given. Chances are we will get carryover money. For instance, our at-risk, I budgeted what our at-risk allocation would be, knowing full well that we will have a substantial amount of carryover there, but not knowing what that number is. I don't budget carryover amounts at this time. I will when we have solid numbers. For the wages, I proposed a 0% wage increase. Anybody who is on a scale that is entitled to a raise, that number has been calculated in. But for those that aren't on a scale, it's flat. We did, the hard cap for health insurance premiums did go up. I adjusted the health insurance expenditures for that purpose. I adjusted retirement rates because we have new retirement rates from the state. We are eliminating 3 certified staff positions. Those have been accounted for in this amendment. I reduced the consortium expense. Our understanding is that the CTE millage will cover a portion of our consortium bill. We are not sure yet what that portion is. So Mr. McMahon and I discussed it, and we came up with a number to reduce our budget or our expenditure by. There were some expense budgets that were increased that I have taken back to where they were before the increases came through. As I said, based on this budget, we'll have a ending fund balance of $708,939. But if past trend continues, it will improve over time. Are there any questions on the general fund?
Just in the absence of Mrs. Heika, I will remind folks of what she always says, that it's our responsibility to pass a budget with a positive balance by the 1st of June. We do not have the final budget from the state. It sounds like they are working towards providing that to us much earlier than they did last year, so we are thankful for that to help with these numbers. I'm thankful to Ms. Hendricks for doing her best guesses on these. It's always interesting when all the elected officials say, you know, we're giving you a $250 increase, but they don't talk about these other things that they're taking away. So it's important that that is balanced, you know, that, okay, yes, it's an increase in per pupil, but we may be taking things away from enrollment stabilization or district transportation cost or MEPSR's cost offset. So I think it's just important to understand that as well. I am not familiar, do you know offhand what the state aid allocations are for the 27I4?
2704 is the,
If you don't know offhand, it's,
I did not.
okay.
27L4 is the extra money that the district received this year to help offset health insurance, or retirement costs.
Okay.
We received 2 pots of 27L money. One was an educator increase, and that was dispersed to all teachers, paras, secretaries, bus drivers, custodians, and cafeteria staff. The other one, the 27L4, came to the district just to offset our costs. 147G is a ORS, Office of Retirement Services allocation that we had been given that, based on the 3 budget proposals, has been eliminated. And 61D is added cost for some it's CTE driven. We still are going to receive 61A1, which is added cost monies generated by our programs. 61D was an additional pot of CTE based money, all from the state.
And then just to I want to highlight the elimination of 3 certified staff positions. That, you know, in general, we do not eliminate staff positions. So it's evident that, you know, you guys are looking at that and what we need to do to right size that. So I know those are difficult decisions, but necessary for where we're at.
I just want to emphasize that the revenue estimates are are just estimates. There's just a lot that's unknown at this time. We do anticipate that the budget will change. We will bring additional amendments to the board for consideration. So obviously, our hope is that we will see improvement with respect to the fund balance percentage. So, any additional questions?
May I add, Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
It's really a question for Mr. McMahon. So with respect to those 3 staff positions, might those be achieved through attrition over the summer? And
They've already been.
they've already been handled? Okay, thank you.
Do you want to go through these other?
I can, I will.
I don't want to cut you short.
The next set of documents, I'll go through them quickly, Mr.
All right,
Farrell.
thank you.
The next set of documents is the debt funds for the 26-27 school year. Same as the 25-26, we're given a dollar amount that we have to spend, that we have to reimburse. That's how we generate the expenditures. I do want to let you know that our 2018 debt will be paid off in fiscal year 2030. And our 2019 and our school bond loan repayment will be done in fiscal year 35. It appears at this point that we'll continue to levy 9.75 mils until the end of the 34 school year, and in 35 we'll be able to levy 9.72 mils, as long as percentages keep going at the rate they are. Next set of documents is for the sinking fund. We did receive an increase in our taxable values. However, unfortunately for us, our increase in taxable values led to a second Headley rollback on our sinking fund mills. So there will be a slight decrease in the percent levied, but we should still get about the same dollar amount. Food service, it's pretty consistent year over year. I did estimate a increase in the wages for our food service staff, again, to help spend down our fund balance. But nothing has been negotiated. We have to start negotiations with all groups, again, so we have idea or contract amounts for the 26-27 school year. And last but not least, the student activity, and again, I did about 600,000 because that's kind of where it's been. Any questions on the 26-27 budgets? I'm done now.
Ms. Hendricks, do you have anything more?
No, Mr. Farrell, I am done now.
Any other questions from board members on the 2026-2027 preliminary budget? All right, thank you very much. I know that was a lot of work and probably provided some anxiety.
Never.
So no, I appreciate your work
Thank
on
you.
that. All right, now, next up on the agenda is 2026-2027 WISD budget resolution. You may recall that we talked about this at our last meeting. So I need a motion to adopt the resolution to support and approve the 2026-2027 WISD budget resolution as detailed in attachments K1 through K5.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution in support of the 2026-2027 WSD budget.
Second by Pryor.
All right, I have a motion from Mr. Sislo with support from Ms. Pryor. Mr. McMahon.
Yep, thanks. So you had the first reading last week. I think Mr. Farrell had some questions that I was able to email answers. I'm not sure if those are communicated out, but it's similar to our budgeting. It's conservative at the beginning, so you'll see some differences in the fund balance. They don't care, the rollover piece was for the revenues. In the attachments, you had two resolutions. It was either to accept K1, which is the support, or K5, which is the not to support. which require attachment, but it looks like we already have a motion on the table to support the budget. So if there are any additional questions, I can do my best to answer or get answers, but I think the board's ready because I've answered some questions in the last week.
Thank you. I did want to add, I did have some specific questions with regard to the ISD budget, and Mr. McMahon answered all of those questions promptly, and I have no additional concerns. So, any further discussion from the board? Okay, we'll proceed with the vote. Ms. Murray?
Sislo,
Yes.
Burdette,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Murray, yes. Pryor,
Yes.
and motion carries 6-0.
All right, we're going to move on to consideration to the renewal of our food service contract for 26-27. I'm sorry, for the 26-27 school year. I need a motion to approve the 2026-2027 food service management contract renewal with Chartwell Dining Service Management Company as detailed in attachment L. This approval authorizes the superintendent or designee to sign all necessary documents.
Moved by Murray,
Support by Sislo.
All right, I have a motion from Ms. Murray with support from Mr. Sislo. Mr. McMahon.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. So this is an annual process, and in 2024, we passed a 5-year contract with Chartwell, so every 5 years we have to renew a 5-year agreement. But every year we have to update the pricing, and it's typically a 3% increase every year. It's that or the CPI index. If the CPI is above 3, then it's just a 3. So I've got the paperwork already moved and signed. The last step in just renewing the 3rd year of a 5-year deal with Chartwell's is a board approval with the resolution.
Any questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed with the vote. Ms. Murray?
thank you. Farrow,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Murray, yes. Pryor,
Yes.
Sislo,
Yes.
Burdette,
Yes.
and motion carries 6-0.
Okay, thank you for that. Next up is the Milan Middle School water main bid as detailed in attachment N. I need a motion to approve the Milan Middle School water main replacement for an amount not to exceed $81,365 with Slew Sarkaski Excavating and Paving as detailed in attachment M.
Moved by Gutierrez.
Support by Burdette.
All right, I have a motion by Dr. Gutierrez with support from Mr. Burdette. Mr. McMahon.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. You can see that in the attachment, I put the bid specs that we put out. It's a bid the district created. It was posted on the State Sigma site and in the Milan Sun-Times as required. Part of the bid process is a mandatory meeting with potential bidders. 2 showed up, and then those same 2 gave a bid at the bid opening, the public bid opening, which was last week. We opened those bids. On the last page, you can see the details of those bids. That's the bid specs we asked them to put in. There's a significant difference in 2 companies. I think it's Slusarski. I don't know how to say it either. Gary, our Director of Facilities and Grounds, has worked with them before in his previous position. He trusts their work. He thinks their questions were even better when they were on site checking out the middle school property. And it just comes in significantly lower than the other group. So I'm recommending we go with the Slusarski.
And this is eligible for sinking fund?
Yes, it is.
All right.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
And just timeline, Mr. McMahon, it seemed from the bid worksheet, which was very helpful to see. Thank you. I've never seen those before. It sounds like that work will be done early summer.
Yeah, that's the plan. As soon as the
plan.
students are out, we can get started.
Okay.
And you've
great.
never seen it before because this is the first one.
Okay, well, it was very informative for me.
I got one next week for you.
Awesome,
Next week.
thank you.
Is there any further discussion from board members? Okay, we'll proceed with the vote. Ms. Murray.
Thank you. Burdette,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Murray, yes. Pryor,
Yes.
Sislo,
Yes.
okay, thank you. Motion carries 6-0.
All right, next up on the agenda in the area of learning, environment, and culture, Assistant Superintendent Bookout has a CLKA literacy curriculum update for us at this time.
Good evening. So we are here to present an update on the elementary literacy curriculum. If you recall, last summer, I did a brief presentation discussing the recommendation for us to purchase a new comprehensive literacy curriculum, partly in response to some legislative changes that were happening in the state of Michigan, as well as an increased focus on the science of reading. So we appreciate the board's support. That was a significant investment that we had to make that was comped by grant funds, but at the time we didn't have those. So we appreciate the district's support in doing that. It has been a significant focus of our work, particularly at the elementary level. The team behind me that I'll introduce in just a minute has been really instrumental in making that work happen. And now that we are nearing the ending point of the 25-26 school year, we wanted to share an update on the progress that we've seen and some preliminary results with that. So I am going to present our elementary literacy team. From Paddock, we have Mrs. Holly Bella and Mrs. Brandy Ignani. She's our Paddock principal. And then from Simons, we have Mrs. Tanya Saragoza and then Mrs. Christy Schwartz. And they are each going to take turns at sharing some updates from their perspectives in their building about the work that they've done.
All right, so I'm going to start by setting some of the context of this work. And on some of our slides, you'll see a banner in the corner because that is actually a slide that we have used over the last couple years with staff because this really has been a big endeavor. And so this is work that has kind of been working towards for quite a while. And to put this in context, there is a broader conversation that there has been in education circles for a long time, but you may have started to see headlines in the regular newspapers now about things like the declining scores on the NAEP and other reading measures, the science of movement reading, which has been really significant about using evidence-based practices in reading instruction. Sold a Story is a podcast that was widely listened to about reading curricula. And so that larger conversation has been happening. And then within our own state, there have been various laws passed over the last 10 years, starting with the Read by Grade 3 law in 2016. And then in 2024, they passed the State School Aid Act, which provided a lot of funding for literacy training, and then the K-12 literacy and dyslexia laws that have implications for our work. So what that meant for us as elementary teachers was that we were rethinking our practices. We were receiving training and making sure we were incorporating the literacy essentials that the state put out. And then also practically that meant a curriculum change. And at the time of this, we thought that was going to be a likely implementation in 2026-27. So to prepare for this process, we started back last fall, really meeting with Ryan and thinking about this curriculum change. In an elementary school, literacy curriculum, all the different components is like half of your instructional day. So this is like a big deal. And so we needed to decide how to evaluate the different curriculums, what tool we wanted to use. We wanted to narrow it down and then review those programs more carefully. We worked with Ryan to identify a pilot team with representatives from each grade and special education and intervention. And we somehow managed to get subs for all of those people last May to be here for vendor presentations. It's still, I don't know how that worked out, but it's and so all this was leading to, with the intention to pilot this fall, a couple of different programs. And what happened was when Michigan released their list of curricula that we could use grant funds on in June, they also stated that we needed to implement it this fall. So lucky for us, we had done all that work and we hadn't waited for the list to come out. And we had actually anticipated the list pretty well. And the consensus among the pilot team who saw all the vendor presentations was that CKLA, everyone felt strongly about that program, that it was a good option, and it felt like the right decision to that whole group to move forward with implementation, even though we weren't able to kind of follow our intended plan. So it was something, this shows different evaluation rubrics that were used, that we examined in coming to that decision. So luckily with all of that work and the support of the administration, we were able to kind of make this adjustment on the fly, which I think says a lot for our staff. I think that their flexibility and their willingness to move forward and do what needed to be done. So that's how we kind of came to this decision for implementation.
And as we noted, when we made the decision to try CKLA, and then shortly after that, when the state came out with their list, we found out the CKLA was #1 on their list. So we felt pretty good about those choices. Wanted to take a few minutes just to talk about the why. It's kind of hard to see, but we have this image here that just kind of explains the science of reading and how, in order to be successfully aligned, we need to consider the language comprehension and word recognition, and CKLA has that comprehensive approach. So you can see that we spend a lot of time on that skills, and then there's the knowledge. There's a lot to be said about building that background knowledge for students to understand what they're reading, what they're hearing. It builds their vocabulary, and therefore it also leads to them having common knowledge on topics to write about. Sometimes students have a really hard time finding something to write about, whether it's a personal experience or just content, because they're lacking in that area. So we have the approach for CKLA are almost daily. They're having a read aloud, where it's building those comprehension skills, that background knowledge, that vocabulary. And then there's opportunities to use that in a variety of ways, which we're going to share in a few minutes. And then other things that we really liked about CKLA is that you'll notice there is a speech to print approach. So a lot of times we think about, it's how important it is for our students to learn their letters, but it's also just as important for them to learn those sounds. And so there was a shift for us to really focus on those sounds, and then the letters came. And then for writing, you can see that for kindergarten through second, we really have a lot of focus on the composition and the transcription, which then leads to the grades 3 through 5 being able to be skilled writers.
So another piece that we really liked about CKLA is that it is what is considered a knowledge building curriculum, where it's designed to help students learn more about their world, and that knowledge builds on itself over time. So it is what we call a spiraling curriculum. And an example of this, it spirals within the year where things come up and they review and come back to it, but also across the grades. So for example, in kindergarten, there is a unit on plants. And then in 3rd grade, there is a unit on ecology and animals and habitats. And so they're kind of deepening that knowledge and understanding and expanding it. And then in 4th grade, there's a geology unit. And so then their knowledge of the world and different environments gets a little bit deeper and their understanding more nuanced. And so that is something that we really like about this program. So it is a strength. It has also created a challenge in this first year of implementation, especially at the upper grades. Because in grades 3, but especially 4 and 5, the program is anticipating that these kids have had these prior learning experiences and knowledges to build on. And so it's a challenge. It's not a barrier, but that has been something that has been tricky, but we think over time is going to be a real strength for our students.
So this has been a big lift. There's been a shift in the way we instruct in our daily practices, is also pacing of the pacing of the curriculum. But we really have to highlight our teachers because they have been very consistent. They have taught with fidelity. We've spent a lot of time trying to support them with collaborating through the CKLA trainings that we've had. We meet with them 1 to 2 times a month, and a lot of the topic of those meetings is CKLA and how we're doing and how we can further support our students. Just having that attitude of learning together and that relentless positivity. Here's an example. We have our 2nd grade teachers where they had a study on Greek mythology, and this was their Halloween costumes for Halloween. So we just really are impressed at how they've embraced these topics and these different units, and making them, going above and beyond to make them really engaging for our students as well. Makes it much more meaningful. So, of course, we wanted some teacher feedback now that we have a year under our belts, and so we wanted to highlight a few things. Starting out with that real shift of understanding that listening comprehension equals reading comprehension. Our students' listening comprehension outpaces their ability to comprehend what they read until the age of 13. And so this is, like I said, we're doing read alouds almost every day with that listening comprehension, and then we have in-depth conversations with our students, there's interactive components, and then there's also writing opportunities. This is an example of our young fives. They were, I think this is Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and so they had that as a read aloud, several activities, and then they actually had to have their own porridge, and then we were able to link that with their five senses. Here we have just an example for first grade and kindergarten. We have a quote from a kindergarten teacher who's a veteran, that decoding skills are developing much earlier than ever before. It was kind of intimidating somewhat to see that pacing, but the students and the teachers have really stepped up to the plate and have seen some great growth with our students. Here's some examples of some kindergarten and first grade writing. First grade especially is noticing like that higher expectations. They're writing in complete sentences, and then they're using text evidence, which has been very difficult in the past, but they are really have really stepped up and have been able to accomplish these. And then you can see that we try to come up, we have like some culminating activities where they might build a project to go with their writing. And then here again, we have our first graders where they studied the body systems. And at the end, it was just another one of those connections to science and social studies content. So here they're connecting science, all that they've learned, and they became, it was Doctor Day. And they had all kinds of stations that they got to participate to apply their knowledge.
So another example of this, I have an anecdote for you from our third grades. They had a space unit, which the kids loved and really enjoyed. And then in STEM class, they also had a visit from the STAR Lab that was coordinated with that. And so they had that experience. And then last week, they were on their field trip to the Science Center. And while at the Science Center, they went to a presentation in a planetarium. And so many teachers came up to me right away when they got back, and they said, you wouldn't believe it, we were in that presentation, the presenter was asking the kids questions about different things, and our kids knew it all. So that was very cool. And this was, they said it was even several months ago that they taught this unit, and so it was really cool to see how they were retaining that knowledge. Another thing our teachers have appreciated, beginning at third grade, instead of having the separate skills and knowledge, it becomes an integrated block. And so instruction in reading, writing, and language is all integrated within these units. This is a fourth grade unit called Eureka Student Inventor, and the whole thing is run as a game show, which, if you know Mr. Adams, you can only imagine. And so the kids were reading about inventions, and then they were in groups where they had to talk about it and make a pitch for which invention they felt had been the most impactful. So you see someone was making a pitch for the telephone, there's a microscope, there were some others that were represented there, but that was some persuasive writing that they did, but it was all integrated. So again, they have additional opportunities to use the vocabulary that they're seeing in the books that they're reading, but they're also using it in their discussions with each other and in their writing. And generally just the topics, the kids and teachers have found very engaging. So this is an example from our fifth grade where they read, okay, so Mrs. Hurtler, who taught Spanish, it's Don Quixote. She's like, it's not Don Quixote. And at the end, they had a jousting assembly, and you can see our middle school administrators here came in on their hobby horses and had a jousting battle where I think Mr. Goodland was the victorious. Yes. So highly engaging and just a cool experience for the kids, and not content that they would have had a chance to encounter. But next year's fifth graders will have had a unit on medieval times and castles and knights, so they'll bring that understanding to this, and I think it's going to be really cool.
So I just wanted to highlight, we've heard it a lot about the heavy lift that this was for our teachers, and also for our paras that are supporting our teachers in the classroom with our students. This completely shifted the way that we were approaching our ELA block, right? And this is for a considerable amount of time. So we are working within CKLA for pretty much half of the instructional time, so 120 minutes a day, which is extremely significant and such a big chunk of time for teachers, and so much so that even CKLA understood like what a heavy lift that this was going to be. And so we talked about the professional development that they provide. They also provided an implementation document here that you see, which sort of takes us through year one all the way into 2+, right? 3 years of what full operation would look like.
And I cannot truly emphasize enough, like our team too of our coaches who've been working alongside to help get this process up and running. So looking at this, our goal truly was like the foundational, right? It's new, we got it sooner than we thought we were gonna get it. We're all hitting the ground running. And so that was really our goal, that first column of like, hey, like these are our resources, and that we're teaching this every day, and we're learning how to, you know, turn books, right? Chapter books, we have our kindergartners in. And that was really our goal. But looking into this implementation process, it is ridiculously exciting that we are on our way to full operation. So when you look at our first year of utilizing the curriculum materials accurately and efficiently, classroom routines are established, lessons are being taught, adjustments for pacing are happening, teacher execution of skills, knowledge, right? That is what we've done. But if you go over into this full operation, pieces of this are happening already, and the teachers are excited, and honestly, the kids are loving it. As someone with a background in social studies, when I have kindergartners that are already learning about the presidents and learning about the war in a nice, respectful way, the American Revolution, it's just really exciting because those are standards that they would not have had or hit, right, until 5th grade. So looking at this full operation, teacher administers and analyzes formative and summative assessments. That's happening. Assessment data is used to adjust instruction. That's happening. Teacher responds to the student work with timely, specific feedback, embedded supports for differentiating instruction. These things are, right, we're not fully there yet, but the fact that they're already happening this year with joy in our classrooms is just very much noteworthy to how well the staff has been working on this endeavor.
So the question in everyone's mind is, how is CKLA helping with our data, and how is that looking at this point? I just want to mirror what everyone has said about the hard work of everyone, and I think it takes a team. We have, like we said, all the educators at our school. We have teachers, we have support staff, we have paraprofessionals, we have our coaches, we have interventionists, we get a lot of support from central administration. So all of that has helped to really have this heavy lift. So first of all, and anytime you have a change, or anytime there is some kind of an implementation, there is a dip. You will, and it's just natural. And the biggest goal is to try to reduce that dip in length and in depth, because we really want to make sure you're doing that. How do you do that? You do that through coaching, which dynamic coaches, they have been amazing. We have had ongoing professional development and training all year. They have constant, they are modeling, they are helping, they're working alongside teachers. And we are doing grade level meetings, and we are talking about things, we're reflecting, we're growing. And I think what's nice about that is that, first of all, just the formative assessment, those are just the ongoing assessments teachers are doing all the time. They do it all the time. And it might even be anecdotal. Those types of things, they've noticed an increase. They're saying things like, wow, our students are really retaining some of this information. They are engaged with reading like they've never been engaged before. In addition to that, if you look at our NWEA, we have some positive results. So what is here, and I will kind of lift it because I know it's kind of small. We did our NWEA. This is a standardized assessment. And what this is we're looking at achievement. And for achievement, it's median based. So what we're looking at, and I'll kind of show you up here, these left sides here, is looking at, we want that to be in the 50s. Because 50th means that when we're norming it against the nation, that 50th basically doesn't mean 50%. It means 50th, like that's our average. That's what we're aiming for. So we were expecting scores below that, to be honest. We really were. If you look in kindergarten, they were at 67. Look at grade 1, 65th. 60th, 59 and 59. Still, every single grade level is above that average, which is amazing. Now, you might say, well, they should all be green. Of course, that's in a perfect world. We would love that. But remember kind of what our coaches had mentioned. You know, our upper grades, 4th grade, doesn't have the knowledge of this whole program. They just started this year. So they have that challenge. But even with that, the amount, the achievement we have on there is just like, we were very pleasantly surprised. And what's really nice is to really zero in on our kindergarten and young fives and really see how If we look at that cohort and just watch them over time, hopefully we're gonna see that just get even better and better. So it was very exciting to look at these results and be excited about what we saw.
So obviously, we've done a lot of work, and I can't speak to how much work this team behind me has been doing all year long. And as they mentioned, we're still not done. We know that we have still a lot of work ahead of us. So next year, we're really focusing, as Ms. Ignani said, about differentiation and using our assessment data. Not only is this our first year of implementing this curriculum, but this is the first year of this edition of the curriculum. So even as we're rolling this out the first year, they're adding new features. So they're adding new assessment features and new reporting features, even as we were in the midst of our first year of implementation. So next year, we're really looking for even more focus on differentiation and assessment. And a major focus for us district-wide, but particularly at the elementary level, would be looking at the new requirements of these K-12 literacy and dyslexia laws, which are really going to impact us K-12, but the biggest hit is really going to be in our elementary grades. So we are looking already at some pilots for next year for some new assessments that are designed to help us screen for the characteristics of dyslexia. We're also going to be doing a major professional development push on helping our teachers being able to understand how to effectively teach and intervene with students that might be exhibiting characteristics of dyslexia. And we also have to do some work around our IRIT process based on the new law. They are adding some different requirements. Those things are not required to be implemented until 27, 28, but we don't want to wait that long. We want to really make sure that we're doing the best that we can for our students. So we're trying as best we can over the summer and this fall to really get all of these things up and running so that our students can continue to be successful in their literacy growth. That was our presentation for you. You have any questions for us? I'd love the team answer them.
Well, first, thank you. Just fantastic presentation, and your pride and enthusiasm is awesome. So I want to make sure that I extend my sincere thanks to your staff as well, your teachers, everybody in the building, everybody that's helping you. It's clear this has been a lot of work, but you obviously really enjoy it, and you're seeing the results of your hard work. So thank you all. Any other comments?
Yeah, your excitement is palpable, and it's awesome. I know when Ms. Bickout brought this to us and the list and the fact that you guys you had chosen the one that the state shows just how excellent you guys are at your jobs. So we definitely appreciate that. Sorry you had to sit through the budget presentation, but I think it's important because one of the things that when I first came on the board, we talked about this three-legged stool, and we talked about, the three legs of that is salaries, facilities, and curriculum. And I think this just points to the importance of curriculum as well. And you guys have nailed this, and it's exciting to see the results. I know Ms. Bookout also presented us the NWA scores, so it's that graph is cool. I like this. That's cool to see. And that was one of the things we talked about at our last meeting is the data part of it. So I appreciate you guys bringing the data part of it as well. So a couple questions then. Did you talk a little bit about the PD? Has the PD from the company been good? I mean, has it been? You guys?
Yeah, one of the things that we like the best about this program is they have a pretty comprehensive professional development package. We didn't even have the opportunity to use all of it this year. We have we have a coaching day that we are going to do again in the fall, and then we also have some more virtual professional development that they're providing for us. And we also meet monthly with our program rep, and that's an opportunity. We all get on the call if we're available, and it's an opportunity for us to ask questions and for them to share any updates. So it's been wonderful to see that kind of support there.
And then obviously you guys are all aware of summer loss. So does this program help with any, ways to allay that or?
So the early units at every grade really are, like, they link up right with where the previous grade ended up.
Okay.
And so I think having some of that built-in overlap and review will be really helpful for students for kind of getting back up to speed after summer. So I anticipate that, especially now that it will be a review this year and not the first time seeing it.
Not building the airplane.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. Excellent presentation. Thank you.
Yes.
Also, thank you. One of my certifications is in language arts, K through 8, and I've taught with some really drudge curriculum from vendors I will not name here. But yeah, the joy was what really, I think you said that it's happening with joy, Miss Ignani, and that is so exciting to me. I just jotted down a few keywords that kind of stuck out to me, and it was on the learning: tangible, relevant, rigorous, and integrated. I am so excited to see a curriculum that is spiraling our social studies, our science content, our science teacher too. So yeah, it is so exciting to hear that our kindergartners are getting exposed to astronomy in a deep way, not just a surface level flyover like we see so often in other products, and other approaches to instruction. I think that's part of what really excites me, is this seems like not just a curriculum that you subscribe to and then you get your teacher edition on the website. Like, this is an approach to deep instruction, and that is very exciting to me. I also loved hearing the attitude of learning together, and thank you for sharing how the staff are internalizing this and going through this process, because it is evident that it is an incredibly heavy lift to change what we do, not just, slowly, but, kind of on a hairpin turn. And so it's exciting to hear that they're receptive to that, they're open to that, and that it's happening collaboratively as a team. So thank you to you all for your leadership in that, but also thank you to the staff for investing in that and making a commitment to doing it with fidelity, because that is not an easy thing to do. So I think I'll leave it there, but yeah, truly very excited to see, not just where the data goes, but where our students go, and what other amazing anecdotes you can share about, little sparkles of learning that they're getting. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Any additional comments from board members?
Hi, everybody. Thank you. This was really interesting and very, very exciting. As you were talking, especially Ms. Gnandi, I was thinking through what might the handoffs to the next grade levels, like up into middle school, look like? Or have you thought about kind of what that might look like? Because now you've got kindergartners who've been exposed to the American Revolution, and they're not waiting until 6th or 7th grade to hear about it. And so I don't know if the vendor has forecasted that, or if that's something your team has thought of. How might you lean into, or how might our middle school staff lean into what they've already learned now in terms of content in elementary school to revisit some of those topics again?
Excellent question. And as someone that taught 6th, 7th, and 8th grade social studies, I am honestly just excited that there is even a foundation of background knowledge of that piece, right? So they say, like, you have to hear something 6 times before you learn it. So the fact that even at this level that they are being exposed to concepts even of our history, right, that will honestly further that much more when they come to middle school. I don't necessarily know if CKLA moves into the middle school arena.
It does. We're not there yet, but there is, CKLA, I'm sure, would be very happy to have our business at the upper grades as well.
But I do know that one of the projects that Book Out and has expressed, right, is even just having a vertical alignment, and really, in the future of us all coming together. We have a very close admin team. I share a campus with middle school, so it's something where just even the conversation of them knowing what we're doing, I think is truly just putting us light years ahead of where it has been in the past.
That's super cool to think about, and how to let students continue to revisit topics that excited them before. I was reflecting on this as you were doing it, or giving your talk. I was going through some of my daughter's elementary school work, and I realized that every single year from kindergarten to 5th grade, she wrote about flamingos. I mean, it was clearly something that she was passionate about, but it was really cool to see her ability to dive in and enhance her writing in a way that she built on skills and knowledge, right? Like, she learned about the biology and the ecology, and that was before this program. And so to have a program that's really built around those kind of intrinsic interests anyways, I think is just so, so cool. And so I am enthusiastic based on your enthusiasm, and so thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to be real quick. I want to thank the team for the great presentation. I'm glad that the board was able to see this one. It's probably the last program presentation of the school year. Save the best for last, for sure. And it was a big lift. This is a huge lift. And maybe the fact that the state changed gears on us and kind of forced us and then changed our mind again where we could have waited. I'm glad we didn't. I'm glad we didn't wait. I'm glad we went for it because we have such a strong team. And I watched the teachers throughout the year. I didn't get into classrooms as much as I wanted this year, but you could see them transition with the curriculum. It was materials in hand at first, and then the comfort level grew throughout the year. But the team that helped implement it, that's in front of you today, was beyond valuable. And I want to point out the fact that there's a new principal, a new assistant superintendent of curriculum, and a new coach at Paddock. There's more than half the team is new this year. So not only is it a big lift and a rush job, we had new folks just jumping in to do it, and they all did great work, and I'm really appreciative. And of course, Tanya and Tracy, all the work they did leading up to that point, they really, she mentioned that she met with me. They were just telling me what to do because they're the experts, and I really appreciate all their work. So thank you guys.
And I feel like what has been, I appreciate the kudos very much, but we have had admin, like Ryan was meeting with us regularly, then Jen when she was in that role. And so that's been happening all along. Some of the structures that are in place, like the common planning time at the elementary level for grade levels is huge. It would not allow us to collaborate and do a lot of the coaching work that we do without that. So I do appreciate the support of the administration in really facilitating this work that wouldn't be possible if we didn't have those structures and if we didn't have someone willing to call the vendors and get them here and get all of the materials here by September 1st. So it has been a heavy lift for the admin as well, both at the district and building levels, which is very much appreciated.
Well, thank you again. Thank you very much. Yeah, yes. I mean, you're welcome to stay, or you can take off if you want. Right, next up on the agenda is board policies. I'd ask the board to please kindly refer to attachment N as in Nancy. I need a motion to revise, repeal, and/or adopt board policy 3501-AG and board policy 4405 as detailed in attachment N.
Moved by Murray.
Support by Gutierrez.
I have a motion from Ms. Murray with support from Dr. Gutierrez. Mr. McMahon.
Thank you, Mr. Farrow. There are just two policy updates. These, I don't think fell in your review schedule. If they did, one was close maybe. But it's just two different policies that I've been working with recently, and just some things popped up. The first is our FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act policy. There was two spots in the policy that referenced Mrs. Forr's email. And we just had to update that, and we changed it to we have a FOIA email now, so it's referencing no individual person, it's the FOIA group. That's the only change there, so that's just updated. And then policy 4405 is a reduction in force and recall. Our policy is written by Troon, and it matches our contract very closely, except for one spot, and that's if you're placed on layoff in our policies, the current one, it's a period of 12 months. In our contract, it's 48 months. That was negotiated in. So our policy should match our contract, so I just made that adjustment. So layoff period is now 4 years. We need our policy to match contract. So there's three small changes.
Any questions from board members? All right, we'll proceed with the vote. Ms. Murray.
Thank you. Gutierrez.
Yes.
Murray, yes. Pryor.
Yes.
Sislo.
Yes.
Burdette.
Yes.
And Farrow.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Next up on the agenda is the appointment of members to the district's Professional Development Advisory Team. I need a motion to approve the 2026-2027 Professional Development Advisory Committee as provided in attachment O.
Motion by Pryor.
Support by Burdette.
All right, I have a motion from Ms. Pryor with support from Mr. Burdette. Mr. McMahon.
Thank you, Mr. Farrow. This resolution is asking the board to approve membership on the committee, and that's a legal requirement. It's if we want to count professional development as student contact time. It's a requirement by the law. We have to put a PD plan in place, a professional development plan in place that gets approved by the ISD for our teachers to earn continuing education hours. We can also take a step further and request that some of that professional development be considered qualified professional, QPD. And there's restrictions on it, like it's maybe up to 6 days, a number of hours in a year. We're below the limit. You can only do 10 in a month. There's a lot of terms on it, but you also have to have a plan in place that's got to get approved. And part of the requirement is that you have a committee every year that's voted by the board that looks at that plan and suggests improvements. So that committee meets and goes through the plan every year. It's once a year meeting, it's once a requirement. So you're just being asked to approve that committee list. In just a summary, we offer 7 days of professional development for our teachers. They can get up to 42 continuing hours. We're only required to do 30. We do 42. 3 of them are before the school year. You can't do QPD before the school year, so that's just 3 standard PD days where they get 6 hours each. And then we do 4 days of QPD throughout the year. We have our last one coming up on Friday. So that, we're just asking you to approve the committee list so they can meet and review our plans.
Dr. Gutierrez.
Can I just ask a question? Mr. McMahon, can you remind me, there's certain requirements of who's on that committee, correct?
Yes, and we fulfill that. It's got to be stakeholders.
Yeah.
It's a little different than SEEB in terms of telling you exactly what percentage can be parents.
Okay.
They just want a stakeholder representation.
Okay, and so for the community to know it, our list includes parents as well as teachers and staff.
Yeah, staff, non-teaching staff.
Non-teaching staff
And
and-
administrators, teachers, and parents.
Yep, okay, great, thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll proceed with the vote. Ms. Murray.
Thank you. Murray, yes. Pryor?
Yes.
Sislo?
Yes.
Burdette?
Yes.
Farrow?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
And motion carries 6-0.
Okay, thank you. We're now back to public comments. Are there any additional public comments? Just a reminder, the same rules described in advance of the first public comment period apply here. Please kindly keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Okay. There are no additional public comments. We'll now move on to Ms. Bookout with Assistant Superintendent comments.
Thank you. You already heard from me tonight, but I do want to share 2 quick updates. So as you may have noticed, before our meeting this evening, we did have our first of 2 open review sessions from parents and community members to come in and look at some of the new resources being considered by the Sex Education Advisory Board. We do have a second review session for anyone that wasn't able to attend this evening before our next board meeting, which will be on June 3rd at 5:30 right here. So we encourage any parents or community members that are interested to come and review those resources. I also want to remind everyone that this Friday is our last professional development day of the year. As we near the end of our school year, for the most part, our staff is going to be spending some time reviewing the progress that they made over the course of the year and really do a lot of intentional planning for next year to make sure that we're ready to start off the year strong. Dr. Phelps is going to be leading a full day of professional learning on special education. So our special education staff will be doing a full day on the interactive IEP process. And then later in the afternoon after our luncheon, she'll be bringing in the entire district staff where we're going to be focusing on special education compliance. This is a really important topic for us to do to make sure that we are being in compliant with all of the laws and regulations surrounding special education, as well as making sure we're providing really excellent support for our students with disabilities. So we appreciate the ongoing commitment and flexibility of our staff at this time of year. There's a lot of things going on, so we appreciate everyone's focus and resilience during this busy spring season. That's it for me.
Any questions for Ms. Bookout? All right, next up.
I do have one.
Yes.
Mrs. Bookout, do paras attend this PD, given that it's a special ed focused one?
Not at this one. This is really more focused on the actual IEP process, which paraprofessionals typically aren't participating in creating the documents and the supports and things like that. And then the compliance piece, paraprofessionals are typically implementing the plans. They're not necessarily having to document compliance in the same way, but we do anticipate that coming into the fall, there'll be some additional paraprofessional training around that so that they're ready and able to recognize some of the changes that they might be seeing and some of the documentation we're asking them to do.
Any other questions for Ms. Bookout? All right, next up is Superintendent McMahon with superintendent comments.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Just to add on to the last question, I do believe there's some resources that were part of the compliance plan was to share with parapros. So it's not on-site learning, but there were some resources shared that they would read, articles or resources. So I know that was part of it, or at least I think it was. I do have a number of announcements or updates today. I want to start by thanking the staff for a lot of work they've been putting into a lot of these events. Just last week, the Simons and Paddock and the elementary PTO co-hosted the spring picnic and the staff kickball game. It was out back. Lots of activity going on back there. the middle school hosted an art show last night, along with a fourth grade move up. I think they called it family night, but basically for fourth graders to come to middle school. Lots of work goes into planning these events and organizing them and make sure they go smoothly. And so I want to thank the staff for that. But on that line, we have a number of field trips and year-end celebrations and at all levels. And so a lot of stuff happening in the next couple weeks, but I want to point out a couple items. Adult ed graduation and the honors night recognition at the high school is tomorrow night at the high school. Middle school is hosting the young adult graduation ceremony on May 21st. That's Thursday. We have one graduate this year, so looking forward to the ceremony. And then 8th grade recognition night is on June 4th. And then lastly, the high school's commencement is for the class of 2026 is on Sunday, May 31st. That is different than years past. I want to point this out. Graduation at Milan, for as long as I've been here and as long as I've known about before, was always the first Sunday in June. The way the calendar falls, that would have been after school this year. So it's been moved to the last Sunday in May, which falls after the holiday weekend, which is also rare. Our students are well aware. They know when their rehearsals are. They get to the point where they stop having to think about a lot of things. We just are very clear about where you need to be and when the next few weeks. So May 31st is a big day here at the district. I would also like to share that Dr. Kelly Gobrogi started this week. She's the assistant director at PECC. She had to finish up some responsibilities at University of Toledo where she was working last, so there was a little bit of a lag between when the board approved her hire and when to start. But we're excited to have her in. She's jumping on that Ferris wheel right now. It's moving full speed. We're going to wrap up the end of the year and then jump right into planning for next year, so we're glad to have her with us. I will share that on Monday morning, board member Pryor and I, Cassie, went to the legislative breakfast at the ISD. It was a smaller event because of the timing of the year, but there were some legislators present. The main topics there were 31AA funding, which there's going to be some changes there. Maybe not what all the districts require, but some changes. Special ed funding in terms of, we're really looking into the out-of-county school of choice for special ed students, because there's some real discrepancies there and equity. Honestly. And then the weighted funding idea, the legislators are leaning into weighted funding a little bit, and I was able to lead a discussion on that. I'm doing a lot of research in this area right now and have some feelings about that. So the most important message that they shared was their optimism that there may be a budget close to the deadline of July 1. So Kristen and I are not holding our breath, but we're excited to hear that everybody's excited about it. I would like to pass along an update that I received from the Washington My Future Fund, and I shared with the board last week, but I want to say it publicly because it's a really cool thing. So to date, the county has invested $3.5 million in the accounts of over 26,000 students in our county. This includes more than 6,000 bonus deposits of $475. So you get $25. Every student qualifies for $25. If you qualified through free reduced lunch qualifications, you get an extra $475 into your account for free, and that's the students' money to invest. They invest it for them, but to maintain and take out when they're ready to move on. There is still some time left for 1st through 8th grade families to invest, because not everybody has yet. It's free money, and we're doing our best to advertise. There's some restrictions in how you can advertise, but that bonus money of $475, the deadline is June 12th. So we're making some last minute advertisements at our buildings for grades 1st through 8th, because we want our families to take advantage of that money. Jen mentioned PD Day on Friday, but we're also having our retirement recognition lunch on Friday. We used to do that on the last day of school, but we're trying to increase participation because the last day of school is a tough day for some folks wrapping up the year. So it's this Friday during the PD Day. We're sectioning some time off for a luncheon. It's at 11:30 at the high school. Please, if you have time, come on and attend. We're going to honor our retirees from the district, from across the staff groups. And I will be inviting them to the next board meeting also to be recognized by the board. One last reminder that the board will be holding the annual budget and truth and taxation meeting on 6:45 on Wednesday, June 3rd. That is just prior to the regularly scheduled meeting. It's a short meeting. It's a requirement, and we're planning on doing that on June 3rd. And finally, I want to wish everybody an enjoyable long weekend in celebration of Memorial Day. That's it.
Thank you. Next up are board comments. Any board comments tonight? Ms. Pryor.
I just wanted to add a few things about the legislative breakfast that we attended yesterday. the ISD brought up a few concerns regarding the Talent Together and Grow Your Own money not being allocated timely enough in order for the next cohort to start in the fall. So just reminded the legislatures that that's a big program in our county and district, and some of our own people were relying on that program, and not having the money was disheartening for those persons wanting to participate. So if anybody talks to their legislature, we'd ask them to help move that along so that those funds can be allocated timely, so the people that want to participate in that program can. As also, in addition, one of the other groups that we did have at the end was talking about high school transition to workforce regarding seat time, how much time you have to spend in the seat in each class, realizing after COVID that we have learned that not all kids learn at the same time. Not everybody needs an hour for this, but the requirements are you have to spend this much time learning this subject each day. And so trying to start conversations around more individualized education for the youth that don't always need it. And we used one of my kids as an example, math, science, all of his classes done, a couple hours. Reading, English, could take 4 or 5. So just trying to have more conversations around doing those individual learning plans. So the ISD has been looking on that, and we ended with, that's something they're gonna try to move forward, having continued conversations if anybody's interested. The only other thing that I wanted to say was tonight, I was gonna announce what policies we have to read. I'm gonna beat Mr. Farrer to it tonight. So for the June 3rd meeting, please read 4105A through 4201 AG. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Pryor, and I'm confident that you got it correct. Any other board comments? Mr. Burdette? Oops, sorry.
So last week I was able to attend the high school girls soccer game in which they beat Monroe Jefferson 6-2. It was also senior recognition night, so it was really nice to see those seniors get recognized with their families, and also have a fun time beating up on Jefferson. So that was very nice. I also went to the band concert last week. I've been to quite a few band concerts since my kids have been in school, and the high school always does a great job. They're always really good. I was very, very impressed with the middle school groups. They were, for the level that they're at and the amount of time they've had their instruments, they were quite phenomenal. I'm really excited to see how the band program progresses, into the future. So very, very excited for that. Yesterday I was able to attend the high school theater banquet, which was very, very well done. The kids seem to have had a great time, and so kudos to all of them as well as the adults who helped organize that. And looking forward to this Thursday, the spring choir concert. So Miss Powell always knows how to put on a great show. So if you have a chance, please go see. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Gutierrez.
Thank you. I mostly have just thanks and congratulations. I'd like to echo Mr. Burdette's congratulations to Mr. Lopez and our Milan Middle School and Milan High School bands. They had a great concert last week. I got there just as the show was starting, and I had to walk up to the very top row of the auditorium for a seat. It was packed. I mean, it was a full house, and it was not only so cool, to see all of these students on the stage together, but to see so many from our community supporting those bands. It was really, really cool to see the auditorium full. I'd like to thank the Paddock and Simon staff and families who volunteered and or attended the PTO picnic and kickball game last Thursday. I understand it was a very close game, but Paddock pulled out a win. It sounds like it was a great event, both for families and for staff, and I know that was an extra ask for many of our staff who were there, so I appreciate them contributing in that way. I also was going through all of my newsletters. We get all these building newsletters, and the number of field trips that are happening this time of year is like really exciting, but I know that for our for our staff and students, that's very exciting, and it takes a lot of work to pull those off, not only from our staff, but from all of our adult volunteers. I saw there was like Imagination Station, the Toledo Zoo, Cedar Point, some really, really cool ones. And so I just want to acknowledge how much I appreciate that our students are getting out into the community and doing really cool things to apply their learning and have some fun together and build those memories. And that takes input and time from our adults that participate in those. So thank you. The other thing Mrs. Bookout had mentioned is what are these building transition visits, it sounds like. I think every building is doing one of those right now, and again, I know that that's an extra ask of our staff, but families really appreciate it, and I think cannot be understated how important those are as students are transitioning to new buildings. Let's see. I'd like to give our huge congratulations to all of our graduates. We have multiple different graduation ceremonies happening, as Mr. McMahon said, and it's just a really exciting time of year, and so very excited to help all of those students celebrate their graduations. And then I unfortunately won't be able to attend the retirement lunch on Friday, but congratulations to our retirees, and I wish them all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Sisso, any comments? I just have one comment, and that is that we still do not have an update from the MEA with regard to the school year calendar. So hopefully we will have an update soon. And that's all for me. So, oh, sorry, Ms. Murray.
That's okay. Do you want to go again?
Nope, I'm good.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you. Good evening. I also would like to extend congratulations to all of our graduates from all of our programs. I'm very much looking forward to being at graduation on the 31st. I won't forget. And also to our retirees, thank you, Dr. Gutierrez, for reminding me of that. Thank you to those retirees for their service to our district and our students. I want to thank Ms. Pryor for serving as secretary during my absence at the last meeting. My job required me to be in Kalamazoo, so I had to miss, so I apologize to the community for that absence. I also want to, I guess, echo the reminder to continue to have conversations with your legislators and to impress upon them the need to get this budget done. I'm sure I'm not alone in having a little bit of residual anxiety or trauma around not having a budget for as long as we did last year. But I wanted to note something about the foundation allowance, because as Ms. Hendricks noted, they're projecting across all three entities of the government, House and the Senate and the governor, that we can possibly maybe expect a $250 foundation allowance per student. But according to the Senate Fiscal Agency, $1.3 billion of the school aid fund was diverted to higher education last year alone. And that number is projected to increase. And I'm certainly not suggesting that we should not support higher education with our tax dollars, but that diversion that is continuing to happen and increase on an annual basis is directly impacting what our legislators can allocate to our K through 12 education budget. So there are a myriad of complexities and issues there, but I just think that it's really important as a community and as a district that we all continue to keep up that pressure and talk to our legislators and let them know that we have not forgotten and that our students deserve more than $250, especially as $1.3 billion is being diverted to our higher education institutions. Okay. Next, I would like to briefly also commend the middle school art show. It was the first one I've been able to attend in quite some time, and it was just astounding. The art was just delightful in every possible way, but there were literally hundreds of pieces of student art from 4, not 3 grade levels. So Miss Amstutz and whoever else helped her, and I hope there were people helping her, I'm sure that there were, they all deserve to be commended because the show was just beautifully executed. All the art was beautifully displayed. I loved being in the space and hearing conversations with students and families about their child's art and how hard they've worked and what they've learned, and hearing stories about students who kind of come out of the woodwork in the art classroom, who are maybe not excelling in their core academics, but then come to the art room and are able to just connect to their learning and produce something and practice those more internal skills of perseverance and grit. I can't tell you the number of students that Ms. Amstead shared had been persevering on a particular piece of artwork for an extended period of time, well beyond when that unit was completed. So congratulations to all the students, congratulations to Ms. Amstead and the whole building. Thank you. And then very, very quickly, finally, sorry, I almost forgot one. I wanted to note that the WISD is again hosting the Paraprofessional Boot Camp series. This year is taking place 2 weeks, the week of June 15th and the week of June 22nd. So I would just encourage the district to, I'm sure you already are, but get that information out to our district paraprofessionals, and I would encourage any of our paras who have not yet attended to please do so. It's an excellent week of learning, and they feed you, which is also nice. All right, that's it for me. Thank you for the time.
All right, thank you. Thank you all for your comments. All right, the final agenda item for tonight is a closed session. I need a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to Section 81A of the Michigan Open Meetings Act and upon the request of the employee for the purpose of conducting a periodic personnel evaluation.
Moved by Sislo.
Support by Pryor.
All right, I have a motion from Mr. Sislo with support from Ms. Pryor. For community awareness, there will be no further business to conduct after our closed session. You are welcome to stay, but do not need to stay. When we return from closed session, the meeting will be adjourned. Is there any discussion?
I just want to make sure, it should be noted that this satisfies the requirement by state law to perform the mid-year evaluation, so that this is a requirement that we are doing this, so.
Correct. Any other discussion? All right, we'll proceed with the vote, Ms. Murray.
Thank you. Murray, yes. Pryor?
Yes.
Sislo?
Yes.
Burdette?
Yes.
Farrow?
Yes.
And Gutierrez?
Yes.
All right, motion carries 6-0.
Okay, we're entering into closed session at 8:32 p.m. Thank you. All right, we are returning from closed session at 10:25 p.m. With no further business to conduct, the meeting is adjourned at 10:25 p.m.